Happy Monday, everybody. It's Kev with the Screen Squad, and we are back to discuss last night's episode 5 of House of the Dragon, aptly titled The Regent. Pretty slowed down episode, but we're just going to get right into it. It was probably too much to hope that the battles of the Red Dragon and the Gold would clear the way for a new era of action-packed Westerosi drama. This week, with what feels like budgetary inevitability, House of the Dragon sees all sides processing the losses they incurred during the Siege of Rook's Rest, and they all talk things out at great length. The good news is that they take some time out of their busy schedules to plot some future moves and to clarify some character motivations moving forward. The episode's not all that thrilling, but it at least still feels like momentum, and it was almost like the first 3 episodes of the season were all building to that the battle, the Siege of Rook's Rest, if you will. And now it's like we're back to the whole building, and then there's going to be a fight. Like, I'm willing to bet the next 2 episodes are going to be almost the same pace as this. More or less building. Next week might be a little bit more upbeat, But yeah, this episode was just everybody processing their losses. And we open with the most heartbroken character of the group, Corlys Velaryon, who lost his wife, Rhaenyra, and her dragon, Meleys, in last week's fight. Now, did the man spend years of their marriage at sea? Yeah. Was he 100% faithful? No. But does that mean he didn't care? Also no. His granddaughter, Baela, suggests later that Corlys only sailed his many voyages and brought back so much plunder to impress his wife. And he doesn't deny it. He's clearly pondering death now after the loss of his wife and twin children, and offers Baela the chance to be his heir, to which she says that she is of blood and fire, Driftmark must pass to salt and sea, which is kind of a cool way to just name drop the source material. Baela, and a decision that leaves the way open to Alan, one of his illegitimate children. He has 2 illegitimate sons. Alan is one of them, and it would be cool to see it pass to him. I know one of them becomes Sea Smoke's dragon rider. Meanwhile, Corlys must decide whether to take the position offered to him as Rhaenyra's hand. He's the obvious choice and about her best chance of getting the squabbling council in order. In fact, that was pretty much this week's episode, with squabbling councils all around. And with Rhaenyra's lords more or less ignoring her to bicker among themselves, Alicent being outmaneuvered on the council as far as naming the new Prince Regent. In both cases, the lords are concerned that a woman can't be a strong leader in wartime. Rhaenyra even points out that they have all lived their lives in a time of peace, so that the men have no more experience than she does. But in private, she bemoans her lack of fight training. Still, 2 capable women are left sidelined and fuming mad. It was pretty funny, that scene with Aemon and the council and his mother, and they're all sitting there, and everyone's talking about who's going to rule while Aegon is down, and Aemon's just sitting there with a smirk on his face, like he knows it's him. And as soon as they all kind of agree that it has to be Aemon, he just gets up and goes, very well then, and takes the head of the table, if you will. And it was just hilarious how the camera's focused on him for most of the scene, and he's just sitting there letting them bicker. And then his first act as Prince Regent is to cut down the fucking rat catchers. The show has finally remembered some of the commentary on gender roles from season 1. How they each respond is instructive. Rhaenyra, who has been dealing with this for a while now, works around her council by enlisting Mysaria's help to undermine her rival Greens, and then sends troublemaker Sir Alfred Broom to Harrenhal to find out exactly what Damon is up to. She is worried and finally admitting openly that Damon might be raising an army for himself and not for her. And judging by Damon's own conversations, this episode she's spot on. Meanwhile, Alicent welcomes her son Aegon back to the castle. He's on the verge of death, not doing good. Armor melted to his skin from the dragon fire he incurred by the hand of his own brother. Now, clearly no one else knows this, probably besides Kristen Cole, and he hasn't said anything. He's not going against Aemon. He's not saying anything to Alicent. But yes, Aegon II is on the verge of death, and He's very insensible, has no idea what's going on, a plethora of broken bones. But Alicent senses that his younger brother Aemond had some involvement in Aegon's downfall, based on the latter's air of self-satisfaction, which is at least partially why she fights for the regency. But her council are half terrified of the younger man and half reluctant to trust her. So now we have a psycho just half a step away from the Iron Throne. And same as it ever was, even Kristen Cole, who has a pretty solid hunch that Aemon was at least thinking about killing Aegon, can't resist the allure of putting Vhagar's rider in the hot seat. But it's fine, there's surely no way that will come back and bite anyone in the ass, figuratively and literally. Elsewhere, things are getting messy as Jaecarys, looking more Paul Atreides by the day, flies to the twins to parley with the Freys, who are as venal as ever. They will support Rhaenyra if she promises them Harrenhal, which she and Jaecarys are both happy with. The current holder of Harrenhal, Damon, may not be quite so keen. He's trying to conjure up that promised army, threatening the Brackens with draconic destruction if they don't bend the knee. And when that fails, he suggests that their old enemies, the Blackwoods, persuade them. And he says a line that there are things the crown cannot be seen to do. Show them your worst. Once again, Damon is suggesting the murder of children to achieve his ends, and once again it backfires. The whole Riverland is appalled by the resulting slaughter, and the very lords he wanted to win over refuse to negotiate with him. Dragon or no, we shall not raise our banners for a tyrant. And it's strange that he can be so clear-eyed one minute, refusing to punish the Brackens for the defiance because he wants that strength of will, and so utterly blind to the consequences the next moment. He also tells Alice Rivers, this witch, outright that he's working for himself now and wants to be addressed as my king. She cannot succeed, he says, referring to Rhaenyra. Even if I willed it to be so, the people who support her will not be led by her. They look to a man for strength. He's not wrong. Look at both the councils. They're just looking to the men. Alicent has served in that position before over in King's Landing when Viserys' health was failing back in season 1. And now it's like the men are taking over. Now that Viserys is gone, the men are taking over. And meanwhile, Damon's having dreams not only of his late first wife, Laena, but also of his mother. So his state of mind seems entirely healthy, if you will. Back in King's Landing, there's almost no edible food thanks to Corlys' blockade, and the new Regent has closed the gates to stop word from getting out. This also stops our old friend Hugh the Smith, also known as Hugh Hammer, from fleeing the city with his seriously ill daughter and concerned wife, and that's a recipe right there for civil unrest. Even the triumphal procession back into the city at the beginning of the episode, with the dragon Melissa's head as the centerpiece, was met with general horror. Some saw it as an ill omen that a dragon died, others took note that a dragon could be slain, which might undermine the very basis of Targaryen rule. It was far from the triumph that Sir Criston and Sir Gawain hoped for. And parading a dragon's head through the city does a lot of, it could influence your townfolk to see you guys as the winner, but it also kind of downplays the mythology of being a Targaryen. Dragons are so easily killed. Here's its head. And they were giving the credit to King Aegon. The procession, they're saying Aegon did this, when in reality, his ass was Kentucky Fried Chicken down in the back, and it was his brother who did all the work. So shifting alliances, redrawn battle lines, and a few new appointments. It's also a good episode for lighting, with the show more or less having defeated Game of Thrones' tendency to spend an entire hour in the dark. Look at the firelight in Rhaenyra's chambers as she takes Jace's report, or the scenes where Alicent briefly holds her injured son's hand. It's a very bad episode for Damon, whose position looks more precarious than ever, even as he shores up Harrenhal's walls. Yeah, there's a war going on, and this guy's just out playing Bob the Builder. I don't understand what his deal is. Eventually your nephew is going to come looking for you. And that's a fight I truly cannot wait to see. But poor Castellan, Sir Simon Strong, remains dividend. but he's increasingly appalled by Damon's unreliability. There's little to no comedy to this episode, but it does end on a positive note with Rhaenyra and Jaecarys realize that there might be people out there with Targaryen blood who had never attempted to ride a dragon. People outside of the royal line. And this whole plan comes into play because Jace is annoyed that they haven't really done much as far as battle. And Rhaenyra's like, well, yeah, we have more dragons, but we don't have enough people to ride them. Which leads into Jaecarys' idea that maybe they should go look into their line and find people with Targaryen blood that could potentially bond with some of these dragons, most notably Vermithor and Seasmoke. They're the two next biggest ones behind Vhagar, and after Melissa's death, it literally goes Vhagar, Vermithor, Seasmoke. And we've seen Vermithor teased quite a bit. I am dying to see this dragon. Sorry, Silverwing and Vermithor. Both large enough to challenge Vhagar, and perhaps Seasmoke abandoned by Rhaenyra Velaryon. So maybe there'll be more dragon fun next time, and this unrest will have proved worthwhile. It's yet another plotting and waiting episode for House of the Dragon. One that makes you wonder if Game of Thrones lacks for action to the same degree. Surely there was more duels, executions, and chases in between battles there. Still, there is some forward momentum and a sense that it's reckoning with events. It's good to see Rhaenyra finally gain some control and Damon begin to realize that he may not be as all-knowing as he thought. If we also see Aemon given an uncomfortable degree of power, we must remember that pride almost always comes before a fall in Westeros, and several disastrous falls seem really overdue. I feel like this is going to get a whole lot worse before it gets better. And I feel like a lot of people are forgetting the fact that this show is based on the downfall of the Targaryen family and the dragons as a whole. So I think when people started seeing dragons dying, it's kind of like, oh, that's what's happening. But that's this whole story. No one's supposed to survive this. And if you're not okay with that, I suggest you watch a different show, because that's all this show is. It's going to be blood, fire, blood, fire, fire, blood, fire, blood. It's never going to end. And obviously, I've been a fan of this universe since day one of Game of Thrones. Repping the 4 major houses right now. Got my sword in the back. With 3 episodes left, I just feel like they're doing a lot of planning. A lot of planning. And I don't know, I love the season. I just want more. I want more out of it. Each scene with them just plotting and setting up seems like it takes so long. And when you're only given hour-long episodes, I know saying only an hour long, kind of redundant to some people because there's no commercials, you're getting a lot of footage. But when 4 of those minutes is an introduction, and then you got 15, 20 minutes on the tail end of that, which is about the post-show, an inside scoop on what they did. It just kind of, I don't know, it takes away from that whole total time of the show. But with that being said, we're going to get into the trailer for next week's episode. No title for this yet. Let's do it.
It's never been attempted before. To claim a dragon, you must also be prepared to die. Perhaps the gods will favor us.
If Damon prevails, I no longer have the numbers to challenge him.
My uncle is a challenge I welcome, if he dares face me.
You have the arrogance of youth. Have the indignities of your childhood not yet sufficiently been... You must see authority, the shield, and the sword.
You will still never match the strength of the Green Armies. You need Damon.
I must now proceed as if I stand alone. It is my fault that you have forgotten to fear me.
But Silverwing? I'm pretty sure that was Silverwing right there, guys. With that being said, next week looks like it picks it up a little bit. I don't think there's going to be too much action as far as a battle goes. But it looks like another episode of build-up. Obviously, you got to establish these new players as Dragon Riders, which I really hope we get Hugh showing up to Dragonstone. We need Hugh to show up. He's been heavily featured in a lot of episodes. Now it's time to mount Vermithor. That came out wrong. Or did it? I'll let you decide. But with that being said, so my two favorite dragons in this show are, right now, you guys could crucify me for this, but I love Vhagar and I love Caraxes. Caraxes is Damon's dragon, the bloodworm. Got that long, slinky neck. And I love that weird, that noise he makes when he goes to, growl or whatever it is. I know they compared it to deviated septum. I love the noise. I love the dragons. I love all the dragons in this show. Sea Smoke was cool. I can't wait to see him again. But Silverwing and Vermithor, I think I'm really anxious to see those two. Next week's episode should be good. And I shall see you next week. Same time, same place. Right here on the Screen Squad. Peace.
Damn.